Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ful-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I am your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today is almost the full team, but let's just say hello to everyone. Mozza, how you doing, mate?
I'm okay. Feeling a little bit under the weather, bit of sore throat, but other than that, all good.
Good to have you on, mate. AJ, how you doing, mate?
Keeping on, my friend. Keeping on. Somewhat excited to talk about this game.
Mental. Anyway, Kyle, we haven't seen you in a little while, mate. Nice to have you back. How you doing?
Yes, it's been a while, gents. It's been a while. I'm looking forward to this one as well. It should be a very interesting topic.
And somebody who had to live the game in person yesterday, so he's going to love talking about it. Drew, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm glad to be back from the Midlands, mate, but it was nice to be somewhere where I was really attractive for the weekend.
Anyway, let's get in. Let's talk about the Villa game. There's a lot to talk about in this one. You know, there's some controversy, obviously, but I don't think the blame lies solely on it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to quickly recap the game, and then we'll talk about the things that we know are the main talking points of the show. There's a lot of people watching this, probably some Villa fans, hoping they're going to see some sort of meltdown about VAR and stuff like that. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to see most of the blame from us will probably lie somewhere else. Obviously, we were all worried after we saw the team sheet yesterday when we had one fit 34-year-old striker on, and that was it. I think him scoring early probably papers over a few cracks. People moaning about that. Then, you know, proceeded to play pretty well for the first sort of 35 minutes of a half. Had a few decisions go against us. We'll talk about those in a minute. We then conceded a very sloppy goal from some shocking defending, which we're definitely going to talk about. And then second half was just a calamity, and we'll moan and more about that than I think anything else. Let's start right at the beginning, though, right where our problems, I think, started yesterday. AJ, it's the question I always ask you, and I'm going to ask you again because it's where this one started. That starting lineup, that team sheet, it was a concern as soon as we saw it, wasn't it?
It was bloody painful. It was like something I expected from the back end of last season when half of our squad were injured at the same time. It didn't feel real for a game, 6 games into the season, where we've actually had a relatively good fitness record thus far, apart from Robinson coming back from injury. Suddenly, out of nowhere, we had Tete and Muniz both missing. And then, for the life of me, and I still can't understand why, no backup striker on the bench whatsoever. On first instinct, it was because I thought Marco was acting on something he had said in a prior interview where he wanted to use Chukwueze as a striker at some point during the season, and I thought, okay, he's going to give him an opportunity after sort of 65th minute. And then Raul got injured after 11 minutes, and we saw Adama Traore come on up front, and it was at that point I knew we had lost the game. So,
yeah, it's a real concern. We've had this issue for ages about. We have to be honest here. It's Marco Silva and his stubbornness with certain players in the squad. I, like you, was actually probably pretty adamant that if anyone was going to go up front yesterday, should there be a problem, or you know, Rails completed one 90-minute game of football for Fulham in a year, so we knew at some point he was going to have to come off anyway. I, like you, was assuming that Chukwueze was going to be that player to come on and do that. Whether the only reason why it didn't happen was because it was too early in the game and there's still some concerns about his fitness, I don't know, and him getting through what would effectively have been 80 minutes football. Some of the decision making for Marco on Saturday is a real issue, and we will talk about that. But what I want to talk about is not the VAR calls and the decisions going against us in the sense of moaning about them, because they're not the reason why we lost the game yesterday. No matter if you agree with them or you don't agree with them, that's a conversation that we can all have another bit. My problem here is the mentality around the squad and our manager whenever decisions go against us. Drew, we spoke about this yesterday after the game ourselves, and we were talking about some people have the ability when things go against them to use that as a galvanizing technique and to get their squad together. With us, everyone just loses their heads, and then just it's a write off the rest of the game. It's a real concern to me. I don't know about you too. Just how we really, really struggle when some things go against us to sort of get back in our heads back into a game.
Yeah, I mean, some people use it. They develop a siege mentality, and we seem to have a bit of a victim mentality. But the reality of the situation is, and I disagree with AJ on this point. I mean, he said he knew the game was going to be lost after Traore came on. The reality of it may have looked different on TV, but the reality of it from inside Villa Park is that Villa did nothing until they scored. They offered absolutely nothing. And then for reasons that would probably make PhD students sweat, our defence forgot how to deal with a long ball. They let it bounce. No one seemed to be able to judge the flight of the ball. And then, I mean, it was a good opportunistic finish from Watkins. But watching Villa, they were literally devoid of confidence. I had a friend with me who's not a Fulham fan, but his ultimate take from it was it was very winnable. It was very winnable. And for reasons I cannot explain, we just folded. And you may be right, Ash. It may be because we do not react appropriately to adversity. Instead of using it to fuel a fire, we pout, want to take our ball and go home. And if you look at, I mean, we're all Marco fans, but if you look at Marco's reaction, you do wonder if it seeps down to the players. I mean, Marco himself got booked yesterday. I mean, VAR is a separate issue in itself, but I mean, if you think back to the Villa game last season at the Cottage, Ash, when we missed the penalty, that was nothing to do with VAR. But again, our attitudes, we just collapsed in on ourselves. And I think, what was it, Ash, because you remember, because we've talked about this at length, was it about 20, 25 minutes?
The 25th minute, yeah.
25th minute. After the goal at the Cottage last year, the penalty that we missed, we just completely lost it. We just absolutely were at 6s and 7s, and the attitude's got to be coming from somewhere. It's got to be instilled from somewhere, and obviously all roads lead back to Marco because he has such a massive influence. So maybe it is worth exploring, because there is no way as professionals you should collapse like we did in the first 5 minutes of the second half. I mean, it was embarrassing, especially the McGinn goal, because you could see it. I was right behind him in the corner. You could see what he was going to do. Back in the day, I mean, I don't advocate foul play, but someone would have taken him out. But no one did. They just let him roll the ball across his left-hand side and just shoot. And it was, I can't explain it. I genuinely can't, but it's definitely got to be attitude.
For me, it's a real concern. There was a couple of comments about certain players I'll make when we go to talk about it, but we can get our heads down about VAR and a couple of decisions going against us in this game and in previous games. You can be livid about both of the penalty calls yesterday, or one of them, or neither of them, or whatever way you sit on the fence of it. It doesn't really matter. The problem here we have is that it's a game of football. Things will go against you. Things won't go against you. As in life, stuff goes against you. Stuff goes with you. If you completely lose concentration to the point where before you sort of gain it back again, you've conceded 3 goals and you've squandered a lead. It's a bit of a concern, right? You have to look at the mentality of the squad. Now, Villa clearly yesterday came out for that second half like they'd had a boot up their ass, and we came out like we were playing lullabies, and everyone was half asleep. And there was a few issues with for me yesterday with the game, and most of them were on Marco, and we'll talk about those now, I think, because we have to. But for me, we complain about Marco's substitutions all the time, and we moan about like-for-like subs and not changing games and not seeing patterns of play when things are going against us. we can't really moan about him bringing on Adama Traore yesterday because it's a player he trusts, and that early on in the game, you have to look at fitness and stuff like that. Fine, that's absolutely fine. What you can moan about is Sander Berg was non-existent yesterday. Barely noticed he was on the pitch. Sasha Lukic, on the other hand, was everywhere until he got yellow carded. And as soon as he was yellow carded, he couldn't do anything, and he became completely ineffective. And that's it. That's even if you ignore the 2 or 3 goals he could have potentially scored after that had happened. The problem is he couldn't play his actual game because he couldn't get another yellow card. And there's arguments by some Villa fans, and I agree with them in some senses, that he was lucky not to get a second yellow card after his yellow card for time wasting. He did it 3 or 4 times. You know, it's one of those things that it's a worry for me that that wasn't noticed at halftime and changed. It's a worry for me that we then concede 2 goals and we don't persist to change our formation or change our style of play at all. We then play another 20 minutes where you could say we're chasing a game, but only on a scoreline where we're chasing the game. And the actual pattern of play, we were doing nothing. But nothing changed. We then made 4 like-for-like substitutions that changed nothing. And it's a real concern to me. Carl, you've not really been part of any of these conversations we've had in the past about Marco's substitutions and how they don't change it. How do you feel when you see that we're struggling in games and it almost feels like we're just content with we'll just keep going how it is? We might make a sub, but nothing's changing because of it.
No, proof was yesterday. You bring, obviously, you can't help Raul got injured, but you bring on Adama, but yet you're still pumping it up in the air for him to win in the air. He can't win the ball in the air. If he's coming on, he's behind the defence player. You get it behind or get it wide. So it's hard because substitutions with Marco, I've lost a lot of faith in Marco the last few weeks. And he's making the same subs. He's bringing off Josh King, Smith Rowe, either starting Harry Wilson or bringing Harry Wilson off, bringing on Iwobi, or vice versa. Or I like the look of Chukwueze, but is he a player that we can rely on as a substitute to do? I haven't seen him do anything yet.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I don't think anyone's seen him do anything. That's the problem. He hasn't had much game time either way. But for me, it is a real concern for me that things are going now. I don't want to talk about the negatives only. That it's one of those moments that we have to live and learn, and we have to come away and be more mature as a team. Ultimately, the problem is for me is that you worry about where the leaders are on that pitch at times. Yesterday, there was only really one player of ours that took the game constantly to Villa, and that was Josh King. And it shouldn't be on your 18-year-old to be the one who's I'm going to take the game to the opponent, and it's a real concern. Mozza, I know you like talking about him, mate. Let's talk about Josh quickly. A brilliant first half from him yesterday. He's really showing off his talents. He was a bit unlucky with the penalty incident and obviously the handball from the shot that it was probably going in if it wasn't handled. But overall, he's really showing to be a real talent for us, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. I was obviously watching it on TV, but like I was saying out loud, like shouting as if I was, at the game itself, saying how incredible he is and how much I love him. I think I've gone on the last couple of pods that we've done talking about him and how he just doesn't give up, and he's a short fella, yet the amount of times he's been knocked off the ball, he gets straight back on his feet. He's one of those players, I feel, and we are going to talk about one incident, so I don't want to sound hypocritical here. He's one of those players that will play to the whistle, and I noticed a lot of times yesterday where we stopped and the ref hadn't blown up, and it's like, what are you doing, lads? Why are you holding your arms up? And I mean that's like a 101 schoolboy error, surely. Josh King just keeps on going, and I've got so much respect for players like that will just give it their all. Skill, speed, for the age he is. The shot, there was one shot he had as well early on where he did have opportunities to pass it. You know, had he squared it to whoever was around him, I can't remember off the top of my head now. It might have been scored, but I like that he had the bollocks to carry the ball and have a go. We don't have enough of that. I mean, I do feel like Harry Wilson has a lot of that sort of style in him as well. And where you said at the beginning, Ash, everyone was concerned about the team sheet. Yeah, for obvious reasons, and we came undone by it, by the rail injury. But I was actually up for it because I've been wanting to see Rail start with Wilson and with King behind him. And I thought we were playing absolutely great football until we weren't. And I just want to see more of that. More. Can you call it risk taking if you're running with the ball and carrying it? Because I think Josh King is a risk taker, but he's a calculated risk taker. He can do it. It's a shame he hasn't yet played a full 90 minutes, but he started. But I think he was just mentioned in the same sentence as Emil Smith-Rowe by one of you, who as well apparently hasn't played 90 minutes of a full game for Fulham either. So
for me,
I've got to leave it at that. But
yeah. for me, I'm not that shocked he's not playing 90 minutes. You know, I don't really want him to have to play 90 minutes. So I'm happy that there's players that can come over and finish. You know, football's going that way now, where you have like finishers and starters in games, and that's fine. You know, I would rather have 70 minutes of him going full hog and have to be subbed off for somebody else to do it for 20, 25 minutes than have 90 minutes of him not pushing himself so he can last 90 minutes. Like it is one of those things. For me, yesterday though, we shoulda, woulda, couldas are going to be a massive conversation, right? About decisions that go your way, and if we got a penalty and we might have scored it and 2-0, the Villa come back. It's pointless even worrying about that. For me, this has to be a massive kick up the backside for what's coming for the rest of this season. We now have a really difficult run of games coming up in the next couple of weeks against football teams that can be quite ruthless. You know, Newcastle, Arsenal, Bournemouth this Friday. That's a tough run of games, right? And if you don't have a mentality correct, you're going to get absolutely destroyed. And we have to fix our mentality problem. We have to fix our ability to brush off when things go against us. Because what will happen is we will constantly see games like this, games like at Stamford Bridge, the Man United FA Cup game from 3 years ago, where we sort of hoped this was behind us from then. We'd maybe learnt our lesson from that day when we were completely in control of the game. A couple of decisions go against you and we completely lose it. Same thing happened at Stamford Bridge, right? We were completely in charge at Stamford Bridge. Completely in charge. A couple of decisions go against us and we just completely lose it. And you have to look at the players on the pitch and the man in charge of the team, and Marco Silva, to go, between you, someone's got to be able to pull everyone together and go, lads, we've got to crack on. In Sunday League football, when you can see the goal, what do you hear everyone shout? Like, it's still 0-0. Lads, we're not winning this. Like, we're not losing this by that much. Keep your head right. It's quite simple stuff. And the fact that we struggle with it, we have struggled with it the whole time Marco's been manager, says an awful lot. Don't get me wrong, I love Marco Silva. He's the best manager we've had in a very long time. But we're seeing this flaw a bit too often. And it's getting to the point now where we are losing games that we shouldn't be losing too often because of mentality and not because of ability. And it's something that we've really, as a fan base, we should actually be worried about. I think yesterday was the perfect example of it. You know, I'm purposely not trying to talk about VAR in this episode and decisions that go against us, because we can moan about it until we're blue in the face. I could do 3 hours on the decisions that didn't go our way yesterday. But that won't change anything. We have to look at what's going to change coming up and going forward. And I think that's the only way we can be. If we're going to anyway be positive, that's what we have to do. Drew, quickly with you, mate, one last thing, because you were at the game, so you would have seen things that maybe we wouldn't have seen on TV that, you get a better view of people's positioning and stuff that was going on yesterday. Second half, we really looked like we were out of shape for quite a lot of time. Did it look that bad at the game? Is it just one of those things that because Villa had really sort of picked up a little bit that we just looked a little bit leggy, or is it that no, we really were out of shape?
As my friend said to me, all of our attacking threats seem to come down the left-hand side. I mean, Harry Wilson's going to have cult hero status simply for his goals against Brentford, but I cannot tell you. I mean, we talk about how Berge was anonymous, and it was true. I mean, he dropped a 5 out of 10, and that's being generous. But Wilson kept tucking inside and had no stomach for the fight. And we're relying on Castagna to do overlapping runs. And Tim is great, but he's not Tete. He's definitely not Robinson. When Samuel Chukwueze came on, he was put on the right-hand side, but he's clearly another left footer. And one of the things that you noticed about Villa is the times that we did put in a couple of early crosses with a natural left footer. Seth's got a couple of crosses in. Villa are at 6s and 7s. If Lukic had scored that sitter that he should have put in the roof of the net instead along the floor, I think Villa may well have crumbled. But one of the things that, I mean, you've talked about a mentality and you've talked about the run of games coming up. One of the things that concerns me is, number one, I think there's too many players in that team that expect to play. They're like Bassi, yeah, Anderson, yeah, Lukic, Berge. And you're talking about players that are in what I call the spine of the team, crucial positions. Yeah. And none of them did themselves any favours yesterday. I mean, those that watch us regularly know that while Robinson's been out, I'd have liked to have seen Cuenca play and move Bassi to left back, because Cuenca's never let us down and he's got a bit of grit about him. He'll put his foot in. But yesterday, there was too many people who were either lackadaisical or hiding in a crisis. Chukwueze, I think, is a good player, but again, Marco, and this is this ties into your theme of stubbornness, Ash. Marco is obsessed with inverted wingers, and it just slows us down so many times. And with Cess playing left back, Cess's game, but he can't get forward as quick as Robinson can and create that overlap. You know, Cess isn't, as we've all said, he's more of a naturally attacking left-sided midfielder. And Chukwueze, I thought Chukwueze was fine. You know, he was trying to do stuff, but is he really a right winger? I'm not entirely sure. But I mean, you talk about the run of games coming up, and it's not a case of will it change? Can it change? I mean, what I'm asking, and this is to all of you, what in Marco's tenure have you seen where he's going to suddenly, become the mad professor? And I'm not saying change the system, but really take some risks with personnel. Because I don't see it. And if we play like we did, those 4 players that I specifically highlighted, Bassi, Anderson, Lukic, and Berge, if they play like they did on Sunday, on Friday, Bournemouth are going to score about 3. God knows what Arsenal are going to do. But I guarantee you this. Yeah, I guarantee you this. When we see the team sheet on Friday night, Jonah Kusi Asare is going to be nowhere near it, even if we only have 1 fit striker. I mean, that is just borderline negligence. You can't tell me a professional football club in the Premier League cannot produce just 1 more striker. It's a case of next man up. Every team suffers injuries. Yeah, you've already made the point about Adama. I think it was Carl that made the point about Adama. He's a right winger. It was never going to work. I mean, he stretched their defence, but he can't hold the ball up. So, yeah, I mean, I thought Wilson was massively anonymous, completely threw out our shape on the right-hand side because he kept coming inside. Chukwueze is obviously a left footer. He's game. But, I'd just like to see a right footer on the right wing and a left footer on the left wing. Just so we could, attack without having to check back and wait for the defence to set. Try something different, but Marco's Marco, and we all know we're going to be talking about this Same thing. Yeah. Next, I want to be wrong. Okay, I want to be wrong, but I'm not.
No, you're not. Look, frankly, I'm bored of having a conversation about it. We've been talking about it for 3 years, right? Every single time we have a run of games like this, we get we all question why he doesn't question himself, why he doesn't look at what's going on in front of him. My biggest problem with Fulham is that when it comes to stick or twist, we always stick. Like we don't ever the most ambitious thing I've ever seen Marco Silva do in the sub is put on a second striker.
Yeah.
Like it's not good enough. Yesterday it was crying out for some positional changes at halftime, and they never came. You know, the inability to see that Sander Berger was completely anonymous, and Lukic became anonymous as soon as he got yellow carded because he had to stop himself from being the one to make the challenges is criminal for Marco Silva for me. Like that should have been seen and changed almost immediately, right? If I was Bassi and Anderson, I'd be seriously worried about my spot going into a game on Friday after the way they managed to defend 2 of the 3 goals on Sunday. The first goal is some of the worst Sunday League style defending I've ever seen in the Premier League. The fact that Anderson doesn't deal with it first, Bassi can't read the bounce. God knows what Leno's doing.
It's
Yeah,
just
Leno.
pure communication.
You know, sorry, Ash, come back on you. It's interesting with Leno because for me, he doesn't dominate his area as he should.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, he doesn't command his box enough.
Exactly, Carl. You know, if you look at, and I don't know if you saw the shows, Carl, that we did earlier in the season. We were talking about Man U at home and Chelsea away. You know, those goals that we conceded were dropped right on the edge of his 6-yard box.
Yes.
Why isn't he coming out and putting his fist through it? Yeah. And Ash, I totally accept. I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying you've got it wrong in respect of Anderson and Bassi, because that was ridiculous. But Leno, had the ability to come out and try and catch it, fist it away, do something. And it was just shambolic. It was just shambolic. And for the first time this season, or since he's been here, I've actually started to question Leno.
It's just pure communication as well, isn't it?
Why doesn't he assert himself? Why doesn't he assert himself? Someone with that much talent and that much experience.
Yeah,
was he captain as well? Sorry, I can't remember.
He wasn't captain yesterday, but he has been captain in the past.
Yeah,
and he's been captain in games where he's letting goals by not commanding his box. And everyone's right that the correct word said there was communication, and it's frustrating that a simple goal like the one they scored to make it 1-1 could have been stopped by a bit of communication between them. You know,
can I just ask one question regarding captaincy? Who would you say we have as a proper leader to be a captain?
Anderson's the ultimate choice for me to be captain, right?
No.
But he's probably the only one with seniority enough that he could have a go at the players to get them in a position where they should respect what he's saying. I've got no problem with Anthony Robertson being a captain either, right?
I can't agree with Robertson. Anderson,
no, I've got no problem with it because of he's got the experience to do it. But for me, there's only one player on that pitch who plays regularly who should be captain, and that is Anderson. Right, but
maybe an argument for role.
Yes,
an argument for role.
Maybe. But there's 2 things I don't like to see. I don't like to see strikers. I don't like to see goalkeepers as captains.
Correct.
Because they can't be everywhere on the pitch to have that to be in communication with the referee. And if they are everywhere on the pitch to be in communication with the referee, you've got some real concerns. You know, it's one of those things. It needs to be a centre midfielder or a defender.
I'll take Lukic. I think Lukic has got.
Yeah, I was about to suggest Lukic. I think it's good.
I'd love to see Lukic be captain, but for Lukic to be captain, we need to see some maturity. I need to see him go a string of games without getting a yellow card. I need to see him be able to go 45 minutes without having to make that stupid challenge that gets him a yellow card. I know sometimes he's unlucky, and he's one of those players that his reputation almost precedes himself in the sense of when he gets yellow card.
Like Paulinho.
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes the yellow cards he gets, I think he just gets because it's him, and the refs know that he's got a bit. He's a bit of it. What is what it is. But I need to see some maturity from him. I think.
Palini is slightly different because he was able to get a yellow card, get up and walk away knowing that he had got it for the tackle. Lukic is a little bit more hot-headed and susceptible to having an argument, and I don't think that's necessarily what we need in a captain. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely what we need in a goalkeeper, because God forbid he attacks his own box, but we definitely need some aggression in some areas of the pitch, but I don't think it's our captaincy.
Can
No,
I
yeah, I
change
think-
one? Sorry, mate. Can I just change it quickly back to about Leno and the defence? Am I the only one who keeps seeing whenever we get the ball back and Leno's been passed the ball, and it's always to Bassi, and they've got more than enough time in the world, and they let the opposition press, and then they cock up, lose the ball. We've conceded goals this way. I'm not a massive fan of booting the ball in the air. I like to have it on the ground as much as possible. But what is that all about? Am I losing my mind? Am I the only Fulham fan seeing this every
No.
game? Every game. Why are you wasting time allowing the opposition playing the ball across the goal and then panicking? What? I don't get that. That's a massive issue for me, and it has been
That's a
all
style
last
choice.
season as well.
That's a style choice for Marco Silva, and it makes sense when you play at some football grounds to have the opposition push you, so you can then create space behind. But the fact that we do it so often at home in the smallest pitch in the league, where you're not creating space, makes no sense. You know, for me, I don't have a problem seeing it. What I want to see is a bit of mixing it up, and that's where the problem comes for me. Is that we never mix it up, which means the opposition always know what we're going to do. Which means it's a bit funny. Lads, we've been going on for ages. Somehow we've managed to go on for half an hour and we haven't even spoke about VAR properly. So that says, well, that's well done for us for that. But let's finish this one how we always do. Man in the matches, honourable mentions, quickly, please, from everyone. And then we'll wrap it up from there. Mozza, I'm going to start with you, mate. Can I have your honourable mentions and your man of the match, please?
Honourable mention, simply for the goal, early goal will be Rail, and man of the match, Josh King. Good night.
Fair enough. AJ, how about yourself?
Castagna and Chukwueze as honourable mentions. I think Chuku did okay when he came on, beat his man a couple of times. Castagna, as much as he wasn't a big impact, he broke the line quite a few times and got some decent balls into the box despite no one attacking them. So I have to credit him for at least bloody trying. And then man of the match is Josh King. There's no doubt about that. He's the only one that actually tried all day.
Yeah, it's a fair shout. Carl, how about yourself, mate?
I've got to agree with Mozza. Raul for honourable mention for his goal, and Josh King just for his hard work and desire. Man of the match for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Andrew, how about yourself?
Man of the match, Josh King, because when he went off, I mean, I saw a lot of attacking impetus disappear. Honourable mention, probably Castagna, because at least he stuck to his task. The rest of it was all pretty meh, if you ask me. And I think you summed it up, Ash, and this goes back to the Silva conversation we've had. He could have changed quite a few things at half time, and he didn't. You know, but I think, ironically enough, honourable mentions, it might be the substitutes that didn't make it onto the field because their reputations may well have been enhanced. You know, you look at what McGinn did for Villa, and we've got our own little ginger Iniesta there, and you say what you want about Harrison Reed, but he never goes missing in a fight, and he provides a lot of energy and impetus, which was sorely lacking. But yeah, but anyway, that's my view on it.
Yeah, that for me, I've got two honourable mentions really. Castagna, I thought played really, really well, considering that, you know, it's a difficult. We always say this whenever he comes in for Tete. It's a hard position to be in, to come in for a fan favourite player and one of your top performers, but he never really lets us down. And actually, I want to give an honourable mention to Ryan Sessegnon, because I don't think he had a bad game, and I think we're starting to see a little bit of confidence at left back coming in to him. And I did say this to Drew yesterday after the game on the phone, that we're now looking at a position where he's actually looking semi-competent playing left back. and he's about to be replaced because Anthony Robinson's going to be injury free and ready to start again, which is a bit shocking. But we all want to see him further up the pitch anyway. So look, that is what that is for me. Yeah, Josh King is the only man in the match yesterday, and it's worrying because we've said this 3 or 4 times this season. Josh King has got our man in the match, and it's gone from being because he's the young lad who looks like he's trying to being just because he's the best player on the pitch. And that's a concern to me that a senior player with less than 20 caps is constantly looking like your best player. Look, lads, thank you very much for joining me on this one. I know it's been a hard one. We could have moaned forever about things that went against us, and I'm happy that we concentrated on things that we did wrong rather than the things that went against us, as to sort of break down the game. It's a painful one, I know, and I know that none of you look forward to talking about it, so I appreciate you joining me. Quick one for us this week, just to let you know, there is a new FFC of me coming out on Wednesday. I sat down with Super Yusuf Kamari, who great guy, great Fulham fan to talk to. You know, really hope you all come and join us for that episode. That'll be out on Wednesday morning. We will be back on Friday morning with our preview to the game against Bournemouth on Friday night. Hopefully, with a lot of positives to actually look forward to, and hopefully some answers on who's going to be playing up front for us, because there's some concerns as it stands. Thank you all for sticking with us and listening to this one. We'll see you all soon. Have a good week. Come on, you Whites.